For over 2 decades, Kane and The Undertaker captivated audiences with their unforgettable mix of family drama, supernatural power, and sheer dominance. From their devastating rivalry, fueled by betrayal and revenge, to their unstoppable alliance that struck fear into the hearts of their opponents. These two larger-than-life figures have left an indelible mark on professional wrestling. Today, we relive the full story of the Brothers of Destruction. In early 1997, The Undertaker was already established as a mysterious and dominant force in WWE. The Phenom from Death Valley was at the height of his career, having just beaten Psycho Sid to win the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 13. At the time, The Undertaker was managed by Paul Bearer, his longtime ally and the keeper of the urn that controlled the Deadman. However, their relationship began to crumble. On the May 12th episode of Raw, Paul Bearer shockingly turned on The Undertaker. This betrayal set off a dramatic storyline that would unfold over the next 2 decades. Bearer revealed that he had a dark secret about The Undertaker's past and began using this secret as leverage, threatening to expose it if The Undertaker did not reunite with him. The Undertaker initially resisted Paul Bearer's attempts to manipulate him, but whatever the secret was, it was clear that it weighed heavily on him. Then it finally happened. Paul Bearer opened Pandora's box and escalated the tension by revealing the truth. Bearer claimed that when The Undertaker was a child, he accidentally started a fire at their family's funeral home, which killed his parents and younger brother Kane. This revelation shocked fans, introducing a new layer to The Undertaker's mysterious, supernatural character. The story painted The Undertaker as a tortured soul who had been harboring guilt for decades, believing that his entire family had perished in the blaze. Bearer's threats became increasingly personal, but The Undertaker refused to submit, choosing instead to bear the weight of his dark past. The twist, however, was that contrary to The Undertaker's belief, Kane was not dead, but had survived and was coming for revenge. Throughout the summer of 1997, Paul Bearer continued to torment The Undertaker by revealing more details about his family tragedy. Bearer claimed that Kane had not died in the fire but had survived, though he was horribly scarred and disfigured. According to Bearer, Kane had been institutionalized for years, harboring a deep hatred for his older brother, who he believed was responsible for the fire. Bearer's claims grew more specific as the weeks went on, stating that Kane was coming to WWE to confront the Deadman. The psychological warfare between Bearer and The Undertaker intensified, with The Undertaker visibly disturbed by the notion that his long-lost brother was not only alive, but also seeking revenge. The Undertaker was involved in a heated feud with Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels during this period. At SummerSlam, Taker lost the WWE title to Bret Hart after HBK, serving as the special guest referee, accidentally hit The Undertaker with a steel chair. This moment set the stage for the first ever Hell in a Cell match between Undertaker and Michaels at Bad Blood in Your House on October 5th. The first ever Hell in a Cell match was brutal and groundbreaking, with both men punishing each other to the limit inside the massive steel structure. Just as The Undertaker seemed ready to finish Michaels, the lights in the arena suddenly went out. An eerie red light flooded the space. Paul Bearer was not just a boy crying wolf. He had been warning the Deadman for months, and the moment finally arrived. Accompanied by Bearer, Kane made his long-awaited debut in one of the most iconic moments in professional wrestling history. The visual of a towering Kane, dressed in red and black, with a mask covering his disfigured face and demonic presence, was unforgettable. His size and appearance immediately drew attention, but what shocked fans even more was the fact that he looked like a physically imposing version of The Undertaker. Kane marched to the ring, and after Vince McMahon's classic commentary call, Kane ripped the door off the Hell in a Cell and stared down The Undertaker. Just like Paul Bearer had warned him he would, Kane attacked The Undertaker, delivering a devastating tombstone piledriver which left him incapacitated. This allowed Shawn Michaels to pin The Undertaker and win the match. This signaled the beginning of a bitter, legendary rivalry between the two brothers. The debut of Kane was not only impactful for its sheer shock value, but also because it was the culmination of months of psychological torment for The Undertaker. Kane's debut signaled that Bearer's threats were real, and The Undertaker would now have to face the brother he had long believed to be dead. After his debut, Kane, driven by rage and manipulated by Paul Bearer, embarked on a path of destruction, attacking anyone in his way to send a message to his older brother. Kane's dominance was undeniable, as he decimated multiple superstars, including Mankind and Vader. His mission was clear. He wanted to destroy The Undertaker, physically and psychologically. Paul Bearer then revealed more about the tragedy that had befallen The Undertaker's family. According to Bearer, Kane had been horribly scarred in the fire, which had not only left him disfigured but mentally unstable. Bearer claimed that he had raised Kane in secret, and Kane had spent his entire life plotting his revenge on The Undertaker. The Undertaker was initially in denial. Haunted by the guilt of the fire and the pain of seeing his younger brother, he declared that he could not bring himself to harm his own flesh and blood, despite Kane's actions. The story of the family tragedy continued to unfold, with Bearer taunting The Undertaker and reminding him that Kane had returned to make Undertaker pay for his sins. Despite Kane's relentless attacks, The Undertaker continued to refuse to fight his brother. The Phenom was visibly conflicted, torn between his sense of family loyalty and his need for self-preservation. Kane's actions became increasingly violent, but The Undertaker's resolve to avoid a confrontation only deepened the tension. The storyline captivated audiences, drawing on the classic themes of family betrayal, guilt, and redemption. Kane's disfigurement and mental instability made him a tragic villain, while The Undertaker's refusal to fight his own brother added emotional complexity to the storyline. In 1998, the tension between Kane and The Undertaker continued to build. Kane's attacks became more personal and targeted. Undertaker faced Shawn Michaels at the Royal Rumble in a casket match for the WWE title. During the match, Kane appeared to side with The Undertaker, seemingly coming to his aid as Michaels and his allies attempted to overpower The Undertaker. However, in a shocking turn of events, Kane turned on his brother. After brutally attacking The Undertaker, Kane locked him inside the casket and set it on fire, leaving The Undertaker for dead. The visual of The Undertaker being locked in a burning casket was powerful, symbolizing the destruction of their family bond and pushing the feud to its boiling point. After being burned alive in the casket, Undertaker disappeared from WWE for several weeks, adding to the mystery and supernatural elements of the storyline. Kane and Paul Bearer, believing they had rid themselves of The Undertaker, continued to boast about their actions, claiming victory over their family. However, The Undertaker made his dramatic return on the February 22nd episode of Raw. In a supernatural twist, lightning struck a casket that had been brought to the ring, and The Undertaker emerged, seemingly resurrected. Kane's actions, orchestrated by Paul Bearer, showed that he was beyond redemption, and Taker could no longer ignore the threat his brother posed. He declared that he would no longer show mercy to Kane and vowed to make him pay for his betrayal. With the Deadman now ready to confront Kane, the stage was set for their highly anticipated first match at WrestleMania 14. The build-up to this match was filled with psychological warfare, supernatural elements, and eerie promos from both men. Kane, still aligned with Paul Bearer, sought to destroy his brother once and for all, while The Undertaker sought to redeem himself and end Kane's rampage. The long-awaited confrontation between the two brothers took place at WrestleMania. The match was one of the most anticipated of the night, and it marked the culmination of nearly a year of build-up between the two brothers. The match itself was hard-hitting, with both men showcasing their incredible power and resilience. Kane dominated most of the match, proving to be a nearly unstoppable force. However, Undertaker, with years of experience and an unbreakable will, managed to fight back. It took not one, not two, but 3 tombstone piledrivers to finally put Kane down for the 3 count. Despite The Undertaker's victory, Kane immediately sat up after the pinfall, demonstrating his resilience and unwillingness to accept defeat. The match not only highlighted the physical power of both men, but also underscored the deep emotional conflict that had been at the heart of their rivalry. Although The Undertaker defeated his younger brother, this would only fuel the fire of their feud, literally. At Unforgiven, In Your House, the two faced off again in the first ever Inferno match, where the objective was very straightforward. Set your opponent on fire. You know, the usual family-friendly wrestling. The match, with flames surrounding the ring, played into the supernatural elements of their feud and symbolized their connection to fire, which was central to the storyline. The match was brutal and dramatic, but The Undertaker emerged victorious again. In the climax, Undertaker managed to set Kane's arm on fire, winning the match and once again proving his dominance over his younger brother. However, this story wasn't finished, as they would soon find themselves united against common enemies. By mid-1998, The Undertaker's focus shifted away from Kane, as he turned his attention towards Stone Cold Steve Austin, Vince McMahon, and the corporation. The same powerful figures targeted Kane, who was still aligned with Paul Bearer. During this time, the seeds of the Brother of Destruction were planted as both men were dragged into the larger power struggle between Vince McMahon's corporation and WWE champion Steve Austin. Though Kane and The Undertaker were still reluctant to trust each other after months of feuding, they realized that they shared common foes, and circumstances forced them into a tentative alliance. At SummerSlam, Undertaker would face Austin for the WWE title. In the weeks leading up to the event, Kane was constantly involved in the title picture, often helping his brother against Austin's attacks. Taker and Austin had a hard-hitting SummerSlam match, but ultimately Austin retained the title. Despite the loss, Undertaker showed respect to Austin after the match. However, this would soon change as The Undertaker's darker side reemerged, leading to a closer alliance with Kane. After SummerSlam, Taker slowly began to turn heel, showing signs that he was becoming more ruthless and sinister. The Undertaker and Kane alliance was solidified in September, when the two brothers officially joined forces to target Stone Cold and claim the WWE Championship. At this point, Vince McMahon attempted to use both brothers to his advantage, creating a narrative in which The Undertaker and Kane were presented as co-conspirators, looking to dethrone Austin. Vince promised the brothers that they would have a chance to compete for the WWE title at Breakdown in Your House in September, in a triple threat match involving Steve Austin. Undertaker and Kane worked together throughout most of the match at Breakdown, methodically dismantling Austin. The brothers eventually delivered a simultaneous pin on Austin, leading to controversy as to who the rightful champion was. Vince declared the title vacant, forcing all three men to continue their rivalry. After Breakdown, Undertaker and Kane's alliance continued as they pursued the WWE Championship, which Vince McMahon still held in limbo. Their temporary partnership led to an October high-profile match at Judgment Day in Your House. The Undertaker and Kane again faced off in a match for the vacant WWE Championship, with Austin as the special guest referee. In the match's climax, Austin refused to count a pin for either brother, eventually declaring the match a no contest by attacking both men. This chaotic ending further cemented the narrative that McMahon, Austin, and the corporation manipulated the situation while the brothers were left to deal with their unstable alliance. During the fall, Undertaker and Kane continued to fight alongside each other, though their tension remained unresolved. It became clear that both brothers had their own ambitions, particularly The Undertaker, whose character was becoming increasingly evil. In late 1998, Taker's character underwent a drastic transformation as he fully embraced his darker persona. He formed the Ministry of Darkness, a sinister cult-like faction intent on taking control of the WWE. The Undertaker turned heel and aligned with Paul Bearer once again. His relationship with Kane deteriorated as the Deadman's goals became more extreme. Despite their bond, Undertaker made it clear that his focus was now on controlling WWE through fear and manipulation. The first major sign of betrayal came in December. Kane, who had been reluctantly aligned with The Undertaker, was now fully entrenched in the WWE Championship picture. However, The Undertaker had little regard for Kane's own ambitions and began manipulating his younger brother to serve his own purposes. Kane, who had previously stood by his brother, became wary of Taker's ambitions, and their alliance began to fracture. Undertaker's increasing ruthlessness became more apparent during this period, particularly during his confrontations with Austin and McMahon. The once solid alliance between the two brothers began to fall apart as The Undertaker's ambitions grew more sinister, leading to a new conflict between them. At rock bottom in Your House, Taker faced Austin in a buried alive match. Kane interfered, attacking The Undertaker, signaling the end of their first alliance and the renewal of their rivalry. Kane's attack cost Taker the match, and Austin buried The Undertaker alive, forcing him off television for some time. The Undertaker returned in early 1999 with the Ministry of Darkness after his burial at rock bottom. He tried to recruit Kane into the ministry, manipulating his emotions and attempting to bring his brother back under his control. However, Kane rejected the offer, which continued the tension between the two brothers. By May, The Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness merged with Vince McMahon's corporation to form the corporate ministry. During this time, Kane feuded with the corporate ministry, aligning with other babyfaces like Stone Cold and The Rock. The Undertaker, as the leader of the corporate ministry, would occasionally come into conflict with Kane as they were on opposite sides of the larger battle between the corporate ministry and WWE's good guys. Interestingly enough, on August 9th, they briefly reunited as a tag team to challenge The Big Show and X-Pac for the WWE tag team titles. Although their uneasy alliance didn't last long, they worked together despite their differences. By September, the tension between the two escalated again, and they resumed their feud. Several brawls and confrontations between them marked this period. Their interactions became more intense, with Kane firmly established as a babyface and The Undertaker still aligned with the corporate ministry. By the end of 1999, The Undertaker had to take time off due to injuries. In September, he was written off TV when he was injured in a match, leaving Kane to continue his path as a solo star. The year 2000 marked a major turning point for The Undertaker's character. After taking off time due to an injury, he returned at Judgment Day in May with a completely revamped persona, the American Badass. This version of The Undertaker abandoned the supernatural, dark figure he had portrayed for years and adopted a more human biker persona instead. At the time of The Undertaker's return, Kane was already an established singles competitor, but the two had been largely focused on their individual goals. The Undertaker's return immediately thrust him into a feud with the McMahon-Helmsley faction and its top enforcer, Triple H, alongside his ongoing rivalry with The Rock and Stone Cold. Though Kane and The Undertaker were not actively working together in the early part of 2000, the seeds for their eventual alliance were being planted. Over the summer, Kane and The Undertaker briefly crossed paths in a storyline that teased a potential reunion. During this time, Kane was competing for the WWE Championship, which The Rock was holding. On the July 24th episode of Raw, Kane faced The Rock in a no-holds-barred match for the WWE Championship, with The Undertaker making his presence known at ringside. However, instead of helping his brother, The Undertaker shockingly attacked Kane during the match. This led to a short feud between the brothers, with both men brawling in the following weeks. This short rivalry culminated in a match at SummerSlam where The Undertaker fought Kane. The match was intense but ended in a no contest after The Undertaker ripped off Kane's mask, leaving Kane to retreat in shame. This was a short but fiery reignition of the rivalry, but also a precursor to their eventual alliance. In late 2000, The Undertaker and Kane once again found themselves teaming up as they faced a common enemy, Kurt Angle and his brother, the enforcer of the McMahon-Helmsley faction. Their reunion was less about family loyalty and more about taking on mutual enemies. The brothers began to team up sporadically throughout the fall, participating in tag team matches against various opponents. In November, Taker was back in the WWE Championship picture, competing against Kurt Angle at Survivor Series. Although Kane wasn't directly involved in this title pursuit, the two brothers' alliance continued to strengthen as they often crossed paths during backstage segments and multi-man matches. By February 2001, Taker and Kane had solidified their alliance as the Brothers of Destruction. At this time, Rikishi and Haku had emerged as a dominant tag team, bulldozing over the WWE roster with their brutal style. The Undertaker and Kane set their sights on Rikishi and Haku, leading to a heated feud in which the Brothers of Destruction defeated them multiple times. As WrestleMania season approached, Taker and Kane began to set their sights on the tag team titles. At the time, iconic teams like Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, and the Dudley Boys dominated the tag team division. Still, the Brothers of Destruction were determined to assert their dominance, and on the March 19th episode of Raw, Undertaker and Kane earned a shot at the tag team titles, defeating Edge and Christian in a non-title match. At WrestleMania 17, Undertaker faced Triple H in a highly anticipated singles match, while Kane participated in a triple threat match for the Hardcore Championship against Big Show and Raven. Kane won his match and the Hardcore title, while The Undertaker defeated Triple H in a brutal and memorable encounter. Although the Brothers of Destruction weren't directly involved in tag team competition at WrestleMania 17, their individual victories helped build momentum for their team going into the summer. Their shared goal of dominating WWE would soon lead them to another tag team championship pursuit. Shortly after Mania, Taker and Kane received a title shot they had previously earned against the reigning champions Edge and Christian on the April 19th episode of SmackDown. The match was hard-fought, but Taker and Kane won, capturing tag team gold. As champions, the Brothers of Destruction began a reign of terror, successfully defending their titles against various teams. Their size, strength, and brutal in-ring style made them a nearly unstoppable force in the division. In May, Taker and Kane found themselves feuding with an unlikely but powerful duo, Steve Austin and Triple H, who had formed the two-man power trip. Austin and Triple H, both top singles competitors, had joined forces in a bid to dominate WWE, and they set their sights on the Brothers of Destruction's tag team titles. The rivalry between the two teams escalated quickly, with multiple confrontations and intense brawls. The feud culminated in a match at Backlash, where Austin and Triple H challenged Undertaker and Kane for both the tag team titles and the Intercontinental Championship, which Kane had won by this time. At Backlash, Austin and Triple H defeated the Brothers of Destruction in a winner-takes-all match, capturing both the tag team titles and the Intercontinental Championship. The loss was a major blow to Undertaker and Kane, but it also set the stage for their continued rivalry with Austin and Triple H throughout the summer. After Backlash, the Deadman shifted his focus toward the WWE Championship, held by Austin. The rivalry between Austin and The Undertaker intensified throughout May and June, with Kane continuing to back his brother in various encounters. At the same time, Kane entered the Intercontinental Championship picture, targeting Triple H and seeking to win back the title. At Judgment Day, The Undertaker faced Austin for the WWE Championship. Kane and Triple H were also involved in a chain match for the Intercontinental Championship. Despite the Brothers of Destruction's best efforts, both men came up short, with Austin and Triple H retaining their respective titles. Despite losing the tag team titles, The Undertaker and Kane continued to dominate WWE's tag team and singles divisions throughout the summer. The biggest storyline of the summer was the Invasion angle, where WCW and ECW talent, collectively known as The Alliance, invaded WWE. Undertaker and Kane quickly became key figures in WWE's battle against the invading forces. The Brothers of Destruction teamed up once again to face off against top WCW and ECW superstars, including Diamond Dallas Page and the Dudley Boys. Their first major target was DDP, who had begun stalking Undertaker's then-wife, Sarah. As part of the Invasion storyline, the Brothers of Destruction set their sights on the WCW Tag Team Championship, held by Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Haire at the time. And at the August 9th episode of SmackDown, Undertaker and Kane decisively defeated Palumbo and O'Haire to capture the WCW Tag Team titles. This victory further cemented their dominance during the Invasion storyline. As WCW Tag Team Champions, the Brothers of Destruction now held one of the Alliance's most prized possessions, striking a significant blow against the invading faction. Undertaker and Kane faced DDP and Kanyon at SummerSlam in a steel cage match for the WWE and WCW Tag Team Championships. The brothers dominated the match, winning both sets of titles and cementing their place as WWE's top tag team. Their size, power, and chemistry as a team made them almost unbeatable during this period. Throughout the remainder of 2001, Undertaker and Kane continued to defend WWE against the Alliance. Their matches included brutal encounters with Alliance members and continued defenses of their tag team titles. Their dominance throughout the Invasion storyline made them key players in WWE's victory over the Alliance at Survivor Series. The Undertaker and Kane frequently defended their tag team titles on episodes of Raw and SmackDown, fending off challengers from both WWE and the Alliance. Despite their dominance, the Brothers of Destruction's double championship reign ended in October. On an episode of Raw, Taker and Kane lost the WCW tag team titles to Booker T and Test after interference from Alliance members. This loss was a major blow to the brothers, but they still held the WWE tag team titles, although not for long. Their WWE tag team title reign would also come to an end later that month at No Mercy. The Brothers of Destruction faced Chris Jericho and The Rock for the WWE tag team titles, but they were defeated, ending their reign. Despite losing their titles, Undertaker and Kane remained central in WWE's battle against the Alliance. They played a key role in the final showdown at Survivor Series, where Team WWE defeated Team Alliance, bringing an end to the Invasion storyline. The Brothers of Destruction's full reunion in 2001 is widely regarded as one of the most dominant runs in WWE history. Their partnership during the Invasion storyline and their multiple tag team title reigns solidified their legacy as one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Their ability to seamlessly transition between singles competition and tag team dominance made them invaluable to WWE during one of its most chaotic storylines. At the start of 2002, The Undertaker was a heel, having adopted his big evil persona, where he was a biker and was known for being more ruthless and aggressive. Kane was working as a babyface during this period. Their paths would cross a few times, but no major feud between them emerged in the early part of the year. In July, after The Undertaker turned face again, he and Kane briefly reunited as the Brothers of Destruction. During this time, they worked together in a few tag team matches, most notably against teams like the Un-Americans, a faction led by Lance Storm, Christian, and Test, who were playing anti-American heels. The Undertaker and Kane's alliance was solid and dominant for a short period, but it wasn't the year's focal point. The Brothers' alliance didn't last long. At Unforgiven, The Undertaker and Kane were both part of the World Heavyweight Championship match involving Brock Lesnar, the reigning champion. The two brothers clashed during the match as they both had their sights on the title, reigniting their rivalry. Although they didn't have a long-term feud, this match marked a moment of tension between them, as both were now top-tier stars chasing the same goal. After the brief tension during the title hunt, both men largely went their separate ways in late 2002. The Undertaker continued feuding with Brock Lesnar, while Kane began a feud with Triple H over the World Heavyweight Championship, leading to one of the most important moments in Kane's career. For years, Kane had worn a mask to hide the scars from the fire that disfigured him during childhood. His mask was central to his character, making him mysterious and fearsome. However, after years of dominating as one of WWE's top monsters, Kane's mask began to symbolize his mental instability. This arc took a major turn in 2003 when Kane entered a feud with Triple H. On the June 23rd episode of Raw, Kane faced Triple H in a mask versus title match, where Kane was forced to unmask if he lost. The match was for Triple H's World Heavyweight Championship. As per the stipulation, Kane lost the match and had to remove his mask. The unmasking dramatically took place as Kane hesitated before finally revealing his face. However, instead of being physically disfigured, Kane's unmasking revealed psychological scars. His face was painted with black smudges, and his expression was filled with madness and rage. This shifted Kane's character. He became more dangerous, unstable, and violent. After unmasking, Kane snapped and brutally attacked his former tag team partner Rob Van Dam, marking the beginning of his descent into darkness. Kane's character now revolved around his psychotic tendencies, and his actions became more unpredictable and vicious, setting the stage for his inevitable clash with The Undertaker. Following his unmasking, Kane became increasingly unstable. He began to terrorize the WWE roster with more brutal and sadistic attacks. Kane was no longer just a monster. He had become a deranged figure with nothing to lose. His unmasking made him feel vulnerable, and in response, he lashed out in even more violent ways. One of the most infamous moments of Kane's post-unmasking rampage came when he attacked WWE commentator Jim Ross. On the July 14th episode of Raw, Kane set JR on fire during an interview segment, symbolizing how unhinged his character had become. Kane also attacked Shane McMahon, engaging in a brutal and violent feud with the McMahon family. This feud included shocking moments such as Kane electrocuting Shane's genitals with jumper cables, and a last man standing match at Unforgiven. These acts of violence were used to show that Kane had fully embraced his dark side after being unmasked. During this period, The Undertaker was still competing under his American badass persona on SmackDown, largely separate from Kane's actions. However, fans were already anticipating a reunion of their legendary rivalry, especially as Kane's behavior became increasingly unstable. The rivalry between Kane and The Undertaker was reignited at Survivor Series. During a Buried Alive match between The Undertaker and Vince McMahon, Kane shockingly interfered, helping McMahon bury The Undertaker alive. He turned on his brother once again, claiming that The Undertaker was no longer the Deadman and that he had killed his brother once and for all. This set the stage for The Undertaker to return to his original Deadman persona. Now, more deranged than ever, Kane believed he had finally rid himself of his older brother. He declared that The Undertaker was gone for good and that he was the last remaining force of darkness in WWE. However, WWE began teasing The Undertaker's return with eerie, supernatural vignettes. These promos showed signs of The Undertaker's resurrection, hinting at the return of his iconic Deadman character. As the weeks passed, The tension between Kane and the looming shadow of his brother's return grew, leading to a highly anticipated showdown at WrestleMania 20. In the weeks leading up to the match, Kane became increasingly paranoid, claiming that The Undertaker was truly gone and could not come back. The climax of Kane's unhinged behavior and The Undertaker's return came at WrestleMania 20, held at Madison Square Garden. The event was promoted as the night where The Undertaker would return to his original Deadman persona and face Kane in a monumental clash. Accompanied by Paul Bearer and his signature druids, The Undertaker made his iconic entrance, complete with fog, ominous music, and the supernatural aura that had made him a legend. Kane, visibly shaken, faced his brother in a match that symbolized the battle between good and evil. Despite Kane's initial resistance, The Undertaker ultimately overpowered him, defeating Kane with a tombstone piledriver and marking his triumphant return as the Deadman. The match was not about technical wrestling, but about the story and the characters involved. The sight of The Undertaker once again in his Deadman persona, reclaiming his place as WWE's supernatural force, was one of the most memorable moments of WrestleMania 20. After WrestleMania, Undertaker and Kane's rivalry cooled down, but the effects of their clash lingered. Kane's defeat at WrestleMania did little to calm his descent into madness. He continued his violent ways, targeting various wrestlers like Matt Hardy and Lita in brutal fashion. Throughout the mid-2000s, The Undertaker and Kane would occasionally reunite as the Brothers of Destruction, often to face common enemies or during special events. They teamed up several times during this period, reinforcing their bond despite their long and turbulent history of betrayal. Between 2005 and 2009, The Undertaker and Kane had an on-again, off-again partnership as the Brothers of Destruction, marked by brief reunions and occasional team-ups. While they were often involved in separate storylines, their paths crossed multiple times during this period. The first significant reunion of The Undertaker and Kane during this period took place at the Great American Bash 2005. Both men were working as single competitors on SmackDown and Raw, but they came together for a brief storyline centered around The Undertaker's feud with Randy Orton. In the lead-up to the Bash, Orton had been trying to gain an advantage over The Undertaker by using various psychological tactics, including manipulating The Undertaker's past. Kane, who was in the middle of his feud with Edge on Raw, briefly crossed paths with The Undertaker during this period, but it was clear that the brothers were still on friendly terms. In late 2006, The Undertaker began feuding with Mr. Kennedy, a rising heel on SmackDown, while Kane was involved in a separate rivalry with MVP. Despite their storylines, the brothers were teaming up again during this period. At Armageddon 2006, The Undertaker and Kane reunited to take on Mr. Kennedy and MVP in a tag team match. This match showcased the Brothers of Destruction dominance, as they easily overwhelmed their opponents with their combined power and experience. The reunion was brief but impactful, reminding fans that when Kane and The Undertaker worked together, they were an unstoppable force. This one-off match demonstrated that the Brothers of Destruction could come together when needed, even though they were largely focused on their own careers. One of their more significant reunions during this period occurred in early 2008. Taker and Kane joined forces on SmackDown to face Mark Henry and Big Daddy V, two massive and dominant heels. Henry had been feuding with The Undertaker for months, while Kane had his own issues with Big Daddy V. This reunion came when The Undertaker and Kane were both targeted by WWE's most physically imposing wrestlers. The brothers quickly asserted their dominance in this rivalry, using their combined strength to defeat Henry and Big Daddy V on multiple occasions. Their alliance during this period wasn't long-term, but it was a powerful reminder of their combined strength when facing a common enemy. Their matches during this time showcased their unmatched chemistry and ability to handle even the biggest and strongest of opponents. In August 2008, The Undertaker and Kane briefly reunited once more on Raw. At this time, Kane had turned heel and was engaged in a feud with Rey Mysterio, while The Undertaker was continuing his rivalry with Edge. On the August 22nd episode of SmackDown, Taker and Kane teamed up to face The Miz and John Morrison, two rising stars in WWE. The Brothers of Destruction made quick work of their opponents, reminding fans of their dominance as a team. This match was more of a nostalgic callback to their previous runs, as the brothers easily dispatched their opponents with their trademark power moves. Despite Kane's heel persona, the brothers could work together without tension, showing that their bond remained strong regardless of their alignment on the roster. In early 2009, the Brothers of Destruction reunited to take on The Legacy, a faction led by Randy Orton that included Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase Jr. The legacy had been causing havoc on Raw, particularly targeting The Undertaker's former rival, Triple H. On the February 9th episode of Raw, Undertaker and Kane faced the legacy in a tag team match. The match showcased the strength and experience of the Brothers of Destruction as they dominated the younger faction. Though they were victorious, the reunion was brief, as both brothers quickly returned to their separate storylines. Throughout the rest of 2009, Taker and Kane were primarily involved in their own separate pursuits. The Undertaker was chasing the World Heavyweight Championship, which he eventually won at Hell in a Cell in 2009, defeating CM Punk. Kane, meanwhile, spent much of the year working in the mid-card, occasionally participating in feuds, but never crossing paths with The Undertaker during this time. Their partnership's on-again, off-again nature during this period highlighted their unique dynamic. While they could easily join forces when needed, they were also successful on their own as dominant singles competitors. Their bond was always there, ready to be rekindled at any time. Their ability to seamlessly transition between singles competition and tag team dominance was a testament to their chemistry and the power of their shared history. While their reunions were often brief, each time they came together, they reminded us of the fearsome and nearly unstoppable force they could become when united as the Brothers of Destruction. The final chapter of their decades-long legendary rivalry occurred in 2010. The seeds were planted after WrestleMania 26 in March, where The Undertaker successfully defended his streak against Shawn Michaels, forcing Michaels into retirement. The Undertaker was riding high on his victory, but he went on a brief hiatus after the event. On the May 28th episode of SmackDown, WWE announced that The Undertaker had been found in a vegetative state, and no one knew who had attacked him. The storyline was crafted to keep The Undertaker off TV for a while, and Kane, The Undertaker's younger brother, embarked on a mission to find out who had assaulted him. For weeks, Kane sought vengeance on behalf of The Undertaker, accusing various superstars, including CM Punk and Rey Mysterio, of the crime. Kane vowed to find and punish the person responsible, believing it was a calculated and malicious attack on his family. At the Money in the Bank PLE on July 18th, Kane took a major step forward in his career. He won the SmackDown Money in the Bank ladder match, giving him the opportunity to cash in a World Heavyweight Championship shot at any time of his choosing. Later that night, after Rey Mysterio successfully defended the World Heavyweight Championship against Jack Swagger, Kane immediately cashed in his contract. He defeated Mysterio to become the World Heavyweight Champion, marking Kane's first world title reign in over a decade. This victory set the stage for the final showdown between Kane and The Undertaker. While Kane was now at the top of the WWE mountain, his focus remained on avenging his brother's condition. At SummerSlam 2010, Kane successfully defended his World Heavyweight Championship against Rey Mysterio. After the match, Kane attempted to put Mysterio in a casket, signaling his dark and ruthless nature. However, to the shock of the WWE Universe, The Undertaker was inside the casket. Though The Undertaker had returned, he appeared visibly weakened. In a twist, Mysterio claimed that Kane, not him, was responsible for the attack that had left The Undertaker in a vegetative state. The Undertaker confronted Kane in the ring, but Kane overpowered his brother, chokeslamming him and solidifying him as the true mastermind behind The Undertaker's attack. Kane revealed that he had spent years in The Undertaker's shadow, harboring resentment for being the lesser brother. Kane's assault on The Undertaker was a culmination of these years of rage, finally giving him the upper hand. Following SummerSlam, the storyline became a psychological battle, focusing on the theme of power and the balance between good and evil. Kane now positioned himself as the stronger sibling, declaring he was more powerful than The Undertaker. He had stolen The Undertaker's signature powers of darkness and claimed to be the true Lord of Darkness. Week after week, Kane tormented The Undertaker, asserting that their family legacy was his to control. Kane proclaimed that The Undertaker had grown weak and vulnerable, a shadow of his former self. The Brothers of Destruction were now locked in a battle of supernatural forces, with Kane using his newfound strength to torment and weaken his older brother even more. The first match in this final series took place at Night of Champions. Kane defended his World Heavyweight Championship against The Undertaker, and the storyline revolved around The Undertaker trying to reclaim his powers and bring down the increasingly dominant Kane. Despite The Undertaker's best efforts, Kane defeated his brother cleanly with a tombstone piledriver. This was a major victory for Kane, who retained his championship and established that he was no longer the weaker sibling. The victory further elevated Kane as a credible threat and deepened The Undertaker's struggle to regain his former strength. The second encounter between Kane and The Undertaker occurred at the Hell in a Cell PLE in October, inside the demonic structure where The Undertaker had often reigned supreme. The Hell in a Cell match was billed as the final resolution to their long-standing issues, where the Devil's favorite demon, Kane, would defend his title against The Undertaker in the ultimate battleground. However, much like at Night of Champions, The Undertaker appeared weakened throughout the match. In a shocking moment, Paul Bearer, who had recently returned to The Undertaker's side, betrayed him by aligning with Kane once again. Bearer used the mystical urn, a long-time symbol of The Undertaker's power, to blind The Undertaker with light, allowing Kane to deliver another tombstone and retain the World Heavyweight Championship. This betrayal by Paul Bearer was a critical moment in the storyline. It cemented Kane's dominance over The Undertaker and deepened the narrative that The Undertaker had truly lost control over his supernatural powers. The final chapter of their rivalry took place at bragging rights in a Buried Alive match. This stipulation had deep significance in The Undertaker's career, as it was often used as a way to write him off television for extended periods. The Buried Alive match symbolized the ultimate end of their feud. The Undertaker came into the match seeking retribution, but once again, Kane had the upper hand. The match was brutal, and just as The Undertaker was about to gain the upper hand, members of the Nexus, led by Wade Barrett, interfered, attacking The Undertaker. With their help, Kane buried The Undertaker alive, sealing him inside the dirt and leaving his brother to perish. Kane celebrated his victory, standing tall as the definitive victor of their final rivalry. The Buried Alive match at bragging rights marked the end of The Undertaker's feud with Kane. The Undertaker would take a long hiatus, returning sporadically in the following years, but this was the last major storyline between the two brothers. Kane had finally emerged from The Undertaker's shadow, standing tall as the dominant sibling, and proving that he was capable of holding his own and outsmarting and overpowering The Undertaker. This feud was a fitting conclusion to their decades-long storyline, with Kane being cemented as a legend in his own right. In the years following their final rivalry, The Undertaker and Kane sporadically appeared together, either in special segments or matches. The occasional alliances between the Brothers of Destruction from 2011 to 2020 were filled with moments of nostalgia, epic battles, and emotionally charged reunions. As both superstars were nearing the end of their in-ring careers, these years were marked by sporadic team-ups where the Brothers of Destruction rekindled their legendary bond to take on some of WWE's top teams. The first major reunion of the Brothers of Destruction during this period came in 2013, when they briefly teamed up to face one of WWE's most dominant factions, The Shield. In the spring of 2013, The Shield was wreaking havoc across WWE, and they targeted both Kane and The Undertaker in a series of attacks. The first confrontation took place on the April 22nd episode of Raw, where Kane and The Undertaker reunited to take on The Shield in a six-man tag team. This match also featured Daniel Bryan, who was Kane's tag team partner at the time in Team Hell No. The Brothers of Destruction put up a strong fight against The Shield, but the young faction ultimately emerged victorious. Following this match, The Undertaker took another hiatus, while Kane continued his storyline with Daniel Bryan and the rise of The Authority. From late 2013 to early 2015, Kane took on a different role in WWE, aligning himself with The Authority, a faction led by Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. As Corporate Kane, he abandoned his monstrous persona and became a suit-wearing authority figure who often used his position to enforce the Authority's will. During this time, Kane's character underwent significant changes, moving away from the demonic, destructive force he once was. The Undertaker, meanwhile, had been focusing on his sporadic WrestleMania appearances, including his shocking loss to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 30, which ended his legendary undefeated streak. The next major reunion between the two brothers came in late 2015, when they teamed up to take on the Wyatt family. Bray Wyatt had been positioning himself as WWE's new supernatural figure, constantly referencing The Undertaker's legacy, and even challenging him after losing at WrestleMania 30 to Brock Lesnar. Wyatt proclaimed himself the new face of fear, and his Wyatt family began targeting both The Undertaker and Kane. The feud between the Wyatt family and the Brothers of Destruction began after Hell in a Cell, when Bray and his family attacked The Undertaker, carrying him off after he lost to Brock Lesnar in Hell in a Cell match. They followed this up by attacking Kane on the following episode of Raw, dragging him away similarly. This led to a highly anticipated match at Survivor Series, which also marked the 25th anniversary of The Undertaker's WWE debut. The Brothers of Destruction reunited to face Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper in a tag team match. The match was nostalgic for fans, as Undertaker and Kane once again displayed their powerful chemistry and dominance. The brothers won the match after Undertaker delivered a tombstone piledriver to Harper, securing a victory and reaffirming their status as WWE's most fearsome tag team. Following their win at Survivor Series, both Taker and Kane focused on their individual careers. Undertaker continued his streak of WrestleMania appearances, facing Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 32 in a Hell in a Cell match, and later competing against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 33. Kane, meanwhile, continued to appear sporadically on WWE television, transitioning into a part-time role as he pursued a political career. One of the final major reunions of the Brothers of Destruction came in 2018, during the lead-up to the Crown Jewel event. The storyline began at Super Showdown in Australia, where The Undertaker faced Triple H in what was billed as their last time ever match. Kane was in The Undertaker's corner, while Shawn Michaels was in Triple H's corner. The match ended up with Triple H defeating The Undertaker, but after the match, all four men were involved in a post-match brawl, setting up a tag team match for Crown Jewel. At Crown Jewel, the brothers faced Triple H and the returning Shawn Michaels in a tag team match. This match was heavily promoted as a nostalgic showdown between two of WWE's greatest duos. While the match was not well received due to how old they were then, it was the final curtain call for the Brothers of Destruction in a marquee match. DX emerged victorious after Triple H pinned Kane. The final chapter of the Brothers of Destruction story came in 2020, when The Undertaker officially announced his retirement. After his Boneyard match against AJ Styles at WrestleMania 36, The Undertaker took part in a documentary series, The Last Ride, where he revealed that he had no intention of returning to the ring. At Survivor Series 2020, WWE held a special ceremony to commemorate The Undertaker's 30-year career. Many WWE legends and former rivals, including Kane, made appearances to pay tribute to The Undertaker. Dressed in his ring gear, Kane stood alongside other WWE stars to honor his brother. Kane's presence at The Undertaker's retirement ceremony served as a fitting end to their legendary partnership and rivalry. The rivalry between The Undertaker and Kane is unique in WWE history, blending family drama with supernatural lore. Unlike most wrestling feuds, which are centered around championships or personal grudges, their rivalry was rooted in a deeply personal storyline that spanned decades and evolved through various phases of their careers. The psychology of their rivalry played a massive role in its success. It wasn't just about who was stronger or better in the ring. A deep emotional conflict resonated with fans. Both men represented supernatural forces, with Kane often portrayed as the monster and The Undertaker as the hero, despite his own dark persona. What made the rivalry even more compelling was its longevity. Over the years, their relationship evolved from pure hatred to reluctant respect and an alliance that could quickly devolve back into betrayal. Their rivalry spanned the Attitude, Ruthless Aggression, and PG era, making it one of the few storylines that carried weight across different generations of fans. The themes of family, guilt, redemption, and revenge were central to their rivalry. The complex nature of their relationship, where blood ties were constantly tested by personal ambition and supernatural power, kept fans invested. Their confrontations were symbolic battles of good versus evil, with both characters existing in morally gray areas. Even though The Undertaker was often seen as a heroic figure, his dark past and sinister powers blurred the line between hero and villain. Kane, on the other hand, embodied the tragic anti-hero, a disfigured and tormented soul seeking vengeance for his brother's wrongs. The supernatural elements, ranging from The Undertaker's lightning strikes and druids to Kane's infernos and pyrotechnics, further enhanced their rivalry, creating an aura of mysticism that captivated everyone. The Undertaker and Kane formed one of the most dominant tag teams in WWE history when they weren't at each other's throats. Together, they wreaked havoc on the tag team division, delivering some of the most memorable moments and matches in WWE. As a tag team, they were an unstoppable force. Their sheer size, strength, and supernatural personas made them a fearsome duo. They were often brought together when the stakes were high, whether to take down a powerful faction, defeat a common enemy, or restore order in WWE. Their chemistry, both in and out of the ring, was undeniable, and when they joined forces, their dominance was rarely questioned. Fans knew they were witnessing something special when The Undertaker and Kane stood together. Part of their appeal as a tag team was their unique chemistry. Their tag team alliance extended beyond just titles and wins. It was about fans' emotional investment in their relationship. Whether they were fighting side by side or against each other, their bond as brothers was always the core of their story. They could just as easily be the unstoppable force battling the top heels in the company or descend back into rivalry, keeping fans on the edge of their seats. Taker and Kane were central to WWE's larger-than-life storytelling, and their characters helped shape the landscape of WWE's mythology. With their supernatural personas, both men represented an era where wrestling was about more than just athletic competition. It was about telling stories that transcended the ring. Their influence is seen in how WWE has embraced long-term storytelling, intricate character development, and family-driven narratives. The emotional weight of their storyline, rooted in betrayal, loyalty, and redemption, created one of the most enduring rivalries and alliances in WWE history. Undertaker and Kane brought the supernatural into WWE in a way that few others could. These elements elevated their matches and feuds to a theatrical level, captivating audiences with their mystique. Their rivalry and alliance also influenced how WWE handled similar character dynamics in the future, including Bray Wyatt, who drew heavily from the eerie, supernatural lore established by The Undertaker and Kane. From Kane's debut in 1997 to The Undertaker's retirement in 2020, their story spanned over 20 years, with numerous twists and turns. Together, they redefined what it meant to be larger-than-life characters in WWE, leaving an enduring legacy that will be remembered for generations. The Brothers of Destruction will forever be one of the most compelling and iconic stories ever told. The story is a masterclass in long-term storytelling, with layers of emotional depth, shocking twists, and memorable moments that have become part of WWE lore. However, it's worth noting that Kane was not the only epic rivalry The Undertaker had. Check out this video for a full recap of the Deadman's legendary feud against the animal known as Batista. See you there.